Within a single lifetime, the Hawaiian Islands transformed from a collection of warring territories isolated from the rest of the world into a unified kingdom with trade and diplomatic ties extending from Canton to St. Petersburg. This dramatic transformation occurred under the leadership of one man, Kamehameha the Great. In 1781, the great chief of Hawaii Island lay on his deathbed. He divided his dominion between his son, whom he named Ali'i Chief, of 3 districts and de facto king, and his nephew Kamehameha, to whom he granted a single district along with a powerful religious role as guardian of the war god. This division was a recipe for conflict, as the 2 cousins were bitter rivals. Moreover, prophecies had long foretold that Kamehameha would be a usurper and slayer of chiefs. These omens were so troubling that upon his birth, his mother sent him away to be raised in secrecy. He returned to court at the age of 5 only after the ruling king had pledged to spare his life. Many ali'i would later regret that decision. Kamehameha was a man of extraordinary mana, the spiritual force that was the foundation of Hawaiian culture. Those with great mana possessed immense physical and spiritual strength, intelligence, charisma, and warrior prowess. Kamehameha embodied all these qualities. Towering at 7 feet tall, he was a formidable warrior skilled in the Hawaiian arts of war. He was also deeply intellectual, devouring knowledge with an unshakable belief in the gods and himself. Even his chosen name, Kamehameha, the Lonely One, reflected both his reserved nature and his unmatched greatness. The late king's division of power was highly unusual. By making Kamehameha the guardian of the war god, he had effectively split control between 2 men of unequal rank, bypassing his youngest son entirely. Enraged, the prince retaliated by killing some of Kamehameha's men. In response, Kamehameha performed a sacred ritual reserved only for kings. The battle for supremacy had begun. Ali'i from across the island rallied to Kamehameha. Within 5 months of his father's death, the prince lay dead on the battlefield, his throat slit by a shark-toothed dagger. Though his cousin and uncle managed to escape, they vowed vengeance. Meanwhile, Kamehameha solidified his claim by declaring himself king of the northwestern side of Hawaii and marrying his slain rival's daughter to legitimize his rule. Yet Kamehameha's path to complete control of Hawaii was far from smooth. He engaged in a grueling conflict with his rival chiefs, suffering numerous defeats. However, rather than seeing these losses as failures, he treated them as opportunities to refine his strategies. Time and again, he withdrew to retrain his armies, developing innovative tactics, such as the use of shock troops to destabilize enemy ranks before launching full-scale assaults. Despite his improvements, he recognized that his forces alone would not be enough to defeat the powerful rulers of Maui, Oahu, and Kauai. To unite the islands, he needed an edge. Kamehameha understood that foreign influences would play a decisive role in the fate of the islands. Since Captain Cook's arrival, European diseases had begun to decimate the Hawaiian population, and Kamehameha knew more foreigners would come. He welcomed visitors, but also saw the threat they posed. To resist outside domination, the islands had to be united. His opportunity came in 1790, when the American trading ship Eleanor anchored at Olowalu. Just days before, villagers had killed one of the ship's crew and stolen a boat, leading them to expect retaliation. Instead, the Eleanor rang its bell, signaling peaceful trade. Hundreds of villagers approached in canoes, only to be met with a devastating double broadside of cannon fire. Over 100 unarmed men, women, and children perished. Weeks later, warriors discovered the Eleanor's sister ship, the Fair American, stranded offshore. Seeking revenge, they boarded the vessel, killing 4 crewmen and sparing only Isaac Davis, who had fought bravely. Kamehameha was furious at this unauthorized attack. Wanting to maintain good relations with foreign traders, he took Davis under his protection and summoned him to court. There, Davis reunited with John Young, a sailor from the Eleanor who had been captured after the Olowalu massacre. Kamehameha gave the 2 men a choice, death or service. If they agreed to serve him, he would elevate them to ali'i status, grant them land and wealth, and treat them as family. In return, they would provide him with what he needed most: firearms, ships, and Western military expertise. Recognizing Kamehameha's power, the 2 men accepted his offer. Kamehameha had long been fascinated by the potential of gunpowder. Years earlier, he had toured Captain Cook's ships to learn about European warfare. Now, with Young and Davis at his side, he began integrating Western firearms, artillery, and naval strategies into his military. He also sought cannons to arm his fleet of war canoes and instructors to train his men in shipbuilding. With his forces strengthened, Kamehameha set his sights on Maui. At first, victory seemed elusive. The island's prince, Kalanikupule, had stationed his forces in a narrow valley, making an assault difficult. For 3 days, the battle raged. Then, Young and Davis arrived with 2 cannons mounted on sledges. The devastating firepower broke the Maui resistance. The slaughter was so immense that bodies clogged the valley streams, earning the battle the grim name the Battle of the Damned Waters. Despite his triumph, Kamehameha faced a new crisis. His cousin had risen in rebellion on Hawaii. Forced to abandon his conquest of Maui, he returned home to crush the uprising. The campaign was brutal. Kamehameha's forces fell into an ambush, and the ensuing battles left both sides weakened. Just as the conflict seemed poised to continue indefinitely, nature intervened. The volcano goddess Pele erupted, sending clouds of hot ash and poison gas over the rebels. 2/3 of their army perished. The rebellion was over. By 1790, Kamehameha stood as the undisputed ruler of Hawaii Island. With a modernized military, trusted advisors, and the gods' favor, he turned his gaze across the channel to Maui. The next phase of his conquest was about to begin.